Hey YouTube, we are looking at the all buffed and nerfed team and the questionable buffed and nerfed team. So let's just start with the very obvious one. So Stunfisk, Earthquake got nerfed by 10 damage. No ways about it. Stunfisk is nerfed. That being said, it's only 10 damage. Earthquake is still like 110 damage, so move from like 120 damage to 110 damage. So it's still such a hard hitting move and a stab move at that with Stunfisk that it's still like a very good Pokemon. There are matchups that I think I remember one where I was like, okay, this Earthquake, I think the battle's in here, whereas against like a Defense Deoxys, I'm like, Earthquake should take out here, and it like left it with like 1 HP. So yes, at times you'll see it, but for the most part, it plays very similar, and I still think you should use it as you would last season. It's just that yes, it is just hits a little less with the Earthquakes. Let's go to Golispod because that's sort of like the next one that is less combative here. X Scissor. So X Scissor is now 5 energy more to get to, but it is 20 damage more. So it is just basically a straight buff. It's not a straight buff because straight buff would just be like increase the damage. This also increase the energy. So X Scissor was primarily just a bait before. Even in super effective situations, it was not great. But now it went up from like, I think 45 to 65 damage and only 35 to 40 energy. So overall, how it played was much better. Like when you threw that X Scissor and you actually saw a decent amount of damage registering, you're like, okay, this is nice. Once in a while, I did hate not having a quicker bait move because there was at times where, because it's 1 extra claw to get to, it's like 1 extra claw each time, right? So it's like 1, 2, 3. So like if you're going deep into a matchup, it's like you're almost losing like a full X Scissor. Not quite, but like you feel it not having that move there. But I think that the trade-off of having that extra 20 damage is far superior versus just not having a 35 energy move. So Golispod definitely increased. It was already sort of niche. I still think it's kind of niche in Great League. I think in Ultra League it's going to be a beast. So there's that. Spark Lanturn. This one caused a lot of outrage, a lot of debate. So Spark got 2 things happen to it. Its damage increased by 2 from 6 to 8, and its energy generated decreased by 1. So a lot of people, when they did their initial analysis, said, okay, if Spark is going up 2 damage, you actually need to nerf the energy by 2, or else it's actually kind of a buff because the trade-off between not getting to a surf is offset by the extra 2 damage that you do for sparks every time, right? Because if you think about it, like if you're gonna do an extra 2 damage on a stab with Pokemon, and it usually took 5, but now it takes I think 6 to get to a surf, maybe even 7 at times. Maybe the second time around, I forget the exact numbers, but there's like that is actually significant, and you do see the spark difference. Like I noticed it in the matchups. The surf does take longer to get to, and so what I think the buffer surf debate comes down to, where you land on it, is how important are the charge moves for you. So for example, you're going to have now a much harder time in the Stunfisk, anything that resists spark, right? Anything that's ground that also took super effective or at least neutral to water. So think Stunfisk, Swampert, Diggersby, all those that resisted the spark but like would hit neutral or super effective with the surf. Those matchups are now much better for those Pokemon because you're not getting to it as much. On the other end, if it's sort of like just a neutral matchup where you still have the bulk and you still have the ability to like live moves and get to these moves, those sparks add up. And there was a couple times in here I was like, oh yeah, I don't even need to like get to the Thunderbolt. I can just go like Spark and Surf and I'm more than fine to get there. So those are the pros and cons of all the moves. Let's look at them in action here. So Politoed, obviously this is a great lead. They're staying in, and as you can see, like, so it takes 6 to get to the first Surf, and what it was at 8 to get to the Thunderbolt. So it takes 1 extra Spark to get there, but look how much damage was done on the thing, and I'm still out of move. So now you're seeing that it takes 1 extra Claw to get to the X Scissor, but that is okay. And your shield could be a wild charge, and it is. I can now just get the farm down, and out is going to come the Politoed, right? Because it doesn't want to see the Lanturn anymore, so it's just going to come and get hit with an X Scissor. I can eat a move. I can eat every move. Ice Beam, Blizzard, Earthquake, Weather Ball. It's all resisted here, so this is fine. Get to the X Scissor, and this is where before it was just like this is a nothing move, it's gonna do nothing, and now it's like, oh, I'm like in claw range now because that did a ton of damage, and I can just like claw down and come out with energy, and then they come with their Ninetales, and again, now it's like a move that you like almost need to respect to a certain extent. But this is where, again, this is such a good matchup for me anyways, but this is like where it's like, in this matchup, I would have preferred to get to the Surf because the Surf would have KO'd no problem. But now it's like that extra spark takes a while to get there. So now you're like 2 behind where it would normally get to Surf. And now you're going to be like 3 behind where it normally gets to Surf, that they get to another Weather Ball in the head, right? So it's those situations. Again, this is an easy matchup, so it doesn't matter too much. But those are the situations where you feel that spark nerf. So from that perspective, yes, you feel that spark nerf. But in other situations, you won't feel it as much. Like on the Politoed lead, where like I could just go straight spark and just dominate there. Medicham, this is one where I've played this matchup I think twice, and I was kind of indifferent with how it felt. Because now they're getting to counter and psychic before you're getting like basically to spark and thunderbolt. So now they are able to outpace you, and I think probably flip this match back. I go straight thunderbolt there. I already shielded up 1 psychic, but now I think just because of the spark nerf, they are now going to be able to outpace you. And this is where it's going to also hurt you a bit. So besides like the ground which resists, it's the super bulky Pokemon that are going to need to take charge moves to do a ton of damage. Like if it's like a Glacier Pokemon, sure, you can just like spark a bunch and then go like Thunderbolt, and maybe you can just like spark down or something like that, right? But like Medicham, Defense Deoxys, those tankier Pokemon where you need that charge move damage, I think that is where you're going to feel the spark nerf more. So that's my thought on Lanturn. I had also run into, and I mentioned this in my deep dive Beyond the Hype analysis video of all these Pokemon, I said, you're probably just going to see more their Water Gun Lanturns. And I did, because your damage is still hard hitting there. Its energy is still the same there. So I ran into I think on one of my teams tomorrow that I had Swampert. They switched Lanturn and I auto swapped in, but they were running Water Gun, and I'm just like, oh no, I'm in big trouble now. So I would not be surprised. So let's just do a conclusion of all 3 of these Pokemon. Lanturn isn't going anywhere. Whether you run Spark or Water Gun, I think both will have play in this. Like I said, you feel the Spark for me in those matchups where Spark is resisted against ground, or I guess Dragon as well, since that resists electric, or in the heavier, bulky Pokemon where you need the charge moves. If it's just like a sort of less bulky average Pokemon, like you don't feel it as much because the Sparks kind of make up for it. Stunfisk is nerfed, but it's still meta. Like I expect a ton of people to still bring it to regionals as one of the best steals. I think with the thing is with Gligar, because Gligar is everywhere, I would not be surprised if you see more A Sand Slashes. The trade-off is A Sand Slash is double weak to Fighter, and again, Flyer's a lot less around it, much more, so you'll see Medicham more, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, you will see more Glygars, so being able to resist all the moves except for Dig, but throw double super effective Ice Punches. I think you're probably going to see more of those as we get a run up into one here. Golisopod is again one of those Pokemon where it's like, I like it. I like using Golisopod. It's always when I use it, it's like so spammy. I have an issue with its typing, right? Bug, water, because it's just like the main one being flying. But you can throw a Shadow Claws again with Noctowl like basically nerfed to the ground now. Maybe it's not as bad. I just think it's gonna be like an absolute beast absolute beast in Ultra League, and I think it just doesn't have as much play in Great League. And let me confirm that with the rankings. Yeah, it's ranked 119 in Great League. I think it just lacks the bulk. 20 and 24. Right, Claws. Problem is Claws resisted by normal type Pokemon. There's a couple Pokemon, Mantine, that you just can't throw anything. There is still Gligar, Wing Attack, Air Ace is just going to outpace you. And you're still going to have problems with like Registeel and even like Scrafty. Lantern's still around with Spark, right? So even just getting outpaced by Sableye and outbulked, right? So there's a lot of losses here. But I've got to imagine in the Ultra League, this is going to be pretty strong. So it actually has like a very, very similar record in Ultra League 2026, but its distribution is much more in the middle. So you're still losing to the Flyers, right? Charizard, Pidgeot, and the normal typings, Snorlax, Darks that resist the Claw. But then like a lot of these are just like, you'll lose some of these, but they're still like 414, 428 against like Giratina, Tapu Fini. So those are losses, but like they're close losses. And then, yeah, good wins. Greninja, Sandslash, Swampert, Defenseoxys, Obstagoon, Walrein, Jellicent, Umbreon, Cresselia, right? So there's some like really nice wins there against the Ultra League meta. So I would expect to see more of it there. So that is my thoughts on these three Pokemon. In terms of, because I'm thinking about this in terms of regionals, because I think that's how do you define meta, in my opinion? It's whether they're going to be used in regionals or not. Golisopod, no. Fun to use. It won't be used in regionals. Lanturn was like everywhere last year, and Stunfisk was like one of the three options for the steals, right? You either had Registeel, Stunfisk, or a Sandslash, or maybe two of them. So I don't think Stunfisk will go anywhere. I think, like I said, just with more Glygars everywhere, I would not be surprised if you saw more A Sandslashes as the steal of choice, is my guess. And Lanturn, I don't think is going anywhere either. I just wouldn't be surprised if you do see it at sort of regionals. You see the more water gun version as opposed to Spark, but Spark is still sufficient, and especially if people run Steelix, right? Water gun, because Spark is resisted here because they're half ground. But if they're just going Dragon Claw, who cares? Because you're still, or Breaking Swipes, whatever, you're still like look how much. Anyways, look how much damage that does. Nothing. And here comes a super effective liquidation. So I could see more people running Water Gun. Goodbye Steelix. Out comes Pelipper. And I know a lot of people think, like, in this matchup, the Pelipper's like, I just need to farm down. But it's like, you don't know how fast and how hard these claws and liquidation come. And by that time, it is too late for you to realize what has happened here. I do shield it up. It is a Hurricane, but I'm like, I would have probably lived a Hurricane from this range anyways, but let us just make sure that that is true. Umbreon, and this is probably one, yeah, this is one where you feel it, where it's just like, Umbreon is so tanky that you need these charge moves, and now taking so long to get to the Thunderbolt and still only doing like 50% damage. Not even, right? So these Sparks, this is where you feel it. This is now going to be a losing matchup for Lanturn, I think. So this is probably where you feel it much more. I think I made a mistake here. I should have known Thunderbolt wasn't enough because it wasn't nearly enough the first time. So I still need a Surf. So maybe I should have done 2 Surfs there instead of a Thunderbolt. Either way, this is a losing matchup. And they come and I was gonna say snipe with Drifloon, but kind of not really. I have a decent matchup here, but not when they're ahead a couple, because Shadow Ball's still gonna hurt. They Icy Wind bait me, which is worse. But again, super effective claws are adding up. They do shield. I'm going to now respect the second Thunderbolt or Shadow Ball. Because again, they could double bait me, but I think they probably just go for the one there. Just have to throw bait. Problem this bait is no longer a bait. It's like a little more of expensive bait, but still get that. Mantine comes in. I'm probably just gonna, I have to get into G-Fisk here. Yeah, just chip G-Fisk. And now it'll come down to what is in the back. I expected to catch there. Oh yeah, the Umbreon. I knew that. But now it's, I think in my favor. If they're not running Bubble Beam, especially like if they only have Airlace Ice Beam, it's going to take like 3 to take me out. So I think I'll just outpace, or I like try and catch as well. There's one. They're going to get 2. I think they're going to outpace me, so I think I try and catch. Oh, I remember this. I think I try to catch the third Ice Beam. But the problem was I'm already so low that I catch an Aerial Ace on my bug Pokemon. Because I thought like, I'll just keep this, catch it, and that, oh, catch an Ice Beam and I'll have one Mud Shot to get to the Rock Slide. And they Aerial Ace me and they undercharge and get the full farm down before I get to a move, and they're still at an Ice Beam. So good play in theory. Unfortunately, did not work there. I think there was one more matchup here. Oh no, and off. Since when do I end on the losses? Anyways, that's fine. You get the gist of these 3 Pokemon, their strengths and weaknesses. So that is it. Be sure to check out my. I mean, I'm not doing the series anymore because none of these are really like hyped up like the other ones were. I like to be on the hype series for the new Pokemon. I'm positive, because I already know the content creators are going to do this. They are going to put out hyped up videos on the new Paladin Pokemon, whatever the new generation is. They're 100% going to put out hype videos on these Pokemon. So now it's just like, I don't know if I will have enough time to catch all these Pokemon and build them up and use them and give you an honest opinion. But I will try, because I think that'd be actually a good way to end Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday you will see at least, maybe we'll see how many Pokemon I catch. For sure, 2 videos you will see tryhard teams, 1 Gligar and 1 Greedent. Both really tryhard teams, both got me a ton of wins. I'm at like a 66% after 66 wins out of 100 games so far, which is pretty decent considering I'm trying out a bunch of Pokemon just to give you my opinion on them. And then and then if I can do these new Pokemon, I will, because I think it'd be good to give them an honest opinion when they are here. But again, I do not know how many I'm going to catch, candies, stuff like that. So we will see. I'll try and put them out, but we'll see what I can do. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.